Hi everyone and welcome to the ANGIE podcast, where we discuss issues around targeted drug delivery and nanomedicine. I will be your host today. I'm Maria Vliora, molecular biology, and today we will talk about nanoscience and how we can bridge education, innovation and ethics. To discuss all this, we have here with us today Dr. Giorgos Peikos from University of Western Macedonia. Hello, nice to have you here with us.
Hello, thank you for your call.
Would you like to give us some background of yours before we start?
Yes, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I'm really excited to talk about nanoscience education, especially in primary and secondary schools. It's a topic that is close to me, as my PhD research was focused on this area, specifically in primary schools, and I have been working in the field over a decade now. Our research team in the University of Western Macedonia has recently contributed to this field by writing several papers and conducting research. And we wrote a book chapter recently titled Nanoscience, Nanotechnology Education for All, Promoting Nanoliteracy Across Educational Levels, that is co-authored by Professor Dimitris Pneumatikos, Penelope Papadopoulou, and Dr. Panagiotis Christodoulou. I would also like to take a moment to honor the late Professor Anna Spiritou in this part. She was my PhD supervisor and the leader of our research team in science education, who passed away years ago. Professor Anna Spiritou was a true inspiration, dedicated her career to advancing the field. She published pioneering papers and books that opened the path for integrating nanoscience and nanotechnology concepts in primary school, and her vision and dedication continue to guide and inspire our work to this day.
Thank you for your reference, and indeed your work has been great, and this is why we decided to invite you to this podcast today. So to start with, let's say, what is nanoscience and nanotechnology, and why is it considered to be so important for the modern society?
Yeah, thank you for this question. Nanoscience and nanotechnology, called NST, focus on studying and using materials at the nanoscale, about 1 to 100 nanometers. At this tiny scale, materials have unique properties like enhanced strength, conductivity, or optical behavior, which don't appear in larger scales. Nanoscience is already making a big impact on society. For example, in electronics, by creating smaller, faster devices. In clothing, it's enabling fabrics to repel water or resist stains. In renewable energy, nanotechnology is enhancing solar panels by using nano-enhanced materials to make them more efficient and cost-effective, supporting a global shift toward greener energy. The field has also medical applications such as advanced drug delivery systems, as you know better than I do. What's really exciting is how nanotechnology connects different fields like physics, chemistry, and biology. This interdisciplinary approach helps us tackle complex problems and elevate the quality of daily life. However, risks and benefits of nanotechnology applications are important topics that should also be discussed, specifically as they relate to the need to improve people's nanoliteracy.
Okay. Can you explain the term nanoliteracy, because it's quite new, and what is its significance for education?
Okay. As nanotechnology, nanoscience continues to develop, educators face the challenge of incorporating the new field into all levels of education. It is stated that students need to develop their nanoliteracy to address everyday issues arising from nanotechnology applications, make informed decisions, and address potential risks and benefits. The basic idea is that all citizens will soon need some level of nano-literacy to navigate important science-based issues in their everyday life and society. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, nanotechnology played a key role in developing vaccines using nanoparticles, and yet misconceptions about these advancements spread rapidly. By introducing nanoscience into education, we can prepare students to better understand such technologies and their implications. Nanoliteracy also opens doors to exciting career opportunities in emerging nano-related fields, helping fill the growing demand for skilled workers in industries like medicine, electronics, and energy. However, nanoliteracy isn't about only careers. It's about sparking interest in science. And nanoscience connects to everyday experiences like self-cleaning fabric or advanced sport equipment, making science more relatable to students. Moreover, its interdisciplinary nature also encourages integrating physics, chemistry, and biology into classrooms, fostering a deeper understanding of complex concepts. So, incorporating nanoscience into the curriculum bridges the gap between education, modern scientific concepts, and real-life applications, empowering students to become more informed citizens and future innovators.
Okay, and how are the NST concepts being integrated into educational curricula worldwide? Do we have an idea about this?
Yes. Although research suggests incorporating nanotechnology concepts into primary and middle school curricula, their integration remains limited. Most public empirical studies on this topic, on introducing nanotechnology to students, are based on teaching interventions and educational materials developed for research purposes, such as those created for research programs or doctoral or master theses, rather than integrated in existing curricula. For example, our research team designed and evaluated a small-scale curriculum called the Teaching Learning Sequence in education, focused on nanotechnology concepts like size and scale, observation tools like microscopes, nanophenomena in nature, and related biomimicry applications such as those related to lotus effect. We think that these concepts that are interdisciplinary concepts could be integrated in subjects within existing curricula. This approach aligns with research advocating for inclusion of nanoscience topics in school science curricula, emphasizing cross-cutting concepts like scale. Additionally, these studies highlight the importance of the curriculum to situating science teaching and learning within contexts that can help students make sense of the natural and human-built world. To support this, educational curricula should emphasize contextualizing nanoscience instruction through real-world nano-related phenomena and applications. This approach can spark students' curiosity and foster a desire to explore the underlying science, while also encouraging critical engagement with the societal issues arising from these applications.
Okay, and according to the book chapter that you have written, you have co-authored with the other scientists, you describe the 9 big ideas in NST education. So what are these 9 big ideas and how do they guide teaching strategies?
The 9 big ideas are considered core to understanding nanoscience and nanotechnology in secondary education. In 2006 and 2007, scientists from various disciplines, science teachers and educators, participated in workshops to identify and agree on the fundamental concepts of nanoscience education for secondary education. These workshops had the goal to reach a consensus on the big ideas. In 2009, the research team of Stevens et al. presented the consensus on these big ideas that were documented in a book called The Big Ideas of Nanoscale Science and Education. These big ideas are regarded suitable for instruction for grades 7 to 12 and regarded as essential for understanding nanoscience. These big ideas are the size and scale, the structure of matter, forces and interactions, quantum effects, size-dependent properties, self-assembly, tools and instrumentation, models and simulations, as well as the connection of science, technology, and society. Our research team has worked to adapt and simplify the content of 5 of these big ideas to make them suitable for instruction at the primary education level. The content transformation focuses on the size and scale, the size-dependent properties, the observation tools, the models, as well as the science, technology, and society, and specifically the applications of nanotechnology. So big ideas provide a framework for developing students' understanding over a long term. By revisiting these concepts throughout the grades, teachers and students can progressively refine, develop, and elaborate their understanding. Therefore, these big ideas serve as scaffold for students, helping them to make sense of nanoscience complex and abstract principles.
How do teaching methods differ when introducing nanoscience and nanotechnology concepts at primary, lower secondary education levels?
Thank you for this question. The answer to this question is not short, and give me some time to develop my reasoning on this topic. Nanoscience concepts in both primary and secondary education are primarily introduced through an inquiry-based learning approach. This instructional method emphasizes the active participation and encourages learners to take responsibility for constructing their own knowledge. Students engage in scientific practices similar to those of professional scientists, such as investigating questions, generating hypotheses, conducting experiments, collecting and interpreting evidence, or constructing and revising models based on that evidence. Now, when introducing NST concepts to primary and lower secondary students, differences emerge in two main areas. To the content knowledge addressed, as well as the instructional strategies used to achieve these learning outcomes. In primary education, a more qualitative approach is suitable, focusing on simplifying complex concepts without losing their essence. Teaching methods are based on inquiry-based learning, including hands-on experiments, as well as the use and construction of models to represent nanoscale structures, such as nanoporous filters or the lotus effect. Digital tools like interactive games, augmented reality applications, and simple simulations help to visualize these concepts. Now, in lower secondary education, students' more advanced cognitive and analytical abilities allow for a deeper exploration of these concepts. Topics such as nanoscale dimensions, molecular structures, and real-world applications of nanotechnology are studied in greater detail. A variety of active learning strategies, including hands-on experiments, are employed to engage students. Inquiry-based learning becomes a key approach, encouraging students to investigate driving questions, conducting experiments, and analyzing data. And moreover, technology-enhanced tools such as virtual labs, simulations, and multimedia presentations further support to enrich the learning process.
Interesting. What role do hands-on activities play in helping students understand abstract nanoscience and nanotechnology concepts?
Okay. Can you make the question again because something go wrong with the connection?
Yes. What role do hands-on activities play in helping students understand abstract NST concept, NST education?
Okay, thank you. Hands-on activities are a vital component of experiential and active learning, as well as inquiry-based learning. These activities allow students to engage in concrete real-world experiences that form the foundation for the learning process. In the context of of nanoscience learning, nanostructures themselves are invisible to the naked eye, or even to optical microscopes. However, their effects, commonly referred to as nano effects, are observable in the macro world. For example, although we cannot directly see the nanostructures on lotus leaves, we can observe their superhydrophobic properties by noticing how water droplets form spherical shapes on the leaves. So hands-on experiments are a powerful strategy to help students connect with such nanophenomena and nano applications like superhydrophobic clothing. These visible effects of nanomaterials provide an excellent basis for hands-on activities and demonstrations, allowing students to explore the invisible nano world through its tangible impacts on the macro world. So such experience can inspire curiosity and lead students to investigate the underlying science. On the other hand, hands-on activities are essential when using and creating models with an effective instructional practice for introducing nanoscale concepts. Models help students represent abstract nanoscale structures in a concrete and tangible way. For instance, students can create 3D models using everyday materials to visualize and explain nanoscience-related phenomena and application. An example includes constructing models of water nanoporous filters to demonstrate how nanotechnology is used in water purification. These activities can can facilitate conceptual understanding, while also fostering engagement and interest in nanoscience by exploring more modern science in the classroom through phenomena and everyday life applications.
And how about the digital tools like augmented reality and interactive simulations? How do they enhance the nanoscience and nanotechnology education?
Digital tools can enhance scaffolding students' learning by providing support to the learners in a learning context to complete tasks beyond the learner's initial capacity, increasing engagement and enabling interactive exploration of nanoscale phenomena. These technologies allow users to visualize and manipulate complex concepts, making learning more dynamic and enjoyable. For example, augmented reality applications are visualization techniques that enhance the natural environment by integrating virtual objects which appear to share the same physical space as the real world. In the context of nanoscience, augmented reality has been used to help students explore concepts such as the lotus effect. Through this application, students can observe and interact with the presentations of the agents, such as the nanostructures of the lotus leaves, that cause the observable phenomena, for example, the superhydrophobicity. Simulations can also help students explore the structures and behaviors of nanoscale phenomena. For example, a simulation of an electron microscope has been used in educational settings to allow students to operate different instrument controls. This enables them observe a series of samples from a specimen library, such as lotus leaves, and magnify them to the point where the nanostructures become visible.
And how about the younger ages? Do you have some examples of how NST education can be tailored to younger audiences, like kindergarten, for example?
Yeah. We already found in the literature one paper that addresses the introduction of nanoscience in kindergarten students. In this paper, described how kids were engaged in experimental activities in order to learn about the gecko effect. Specifically, they explored that geckophyte have tiny hair microstructures which branch into even smaller nanostructures called spatulae. Spatulae create a large contact surface area, allowing geckos to stick to walls and sailing without glue. Students used images to observe these structures and created drawings to represent them. In a study by our research team that will be soon published, we developed educational materials to introduce nanoscience concepts to kindergarten students, aligning with early childhood teaching approaches. For example, to explain the Lotus effect, we created a fairy tale called Snow White Returns to Nanoworld, combining storytelling with hands-on experiments to explore nanoscale structures and self-cleaning properties of the Lotus effect. For another topic, specifically about protective masks against coronavirus, we designed a puppet scientist to guide students through activities demonstrating how masks filter viruses. We also created a dramatic play called Coronaviruses Try to Find People to show how masks protect individuals. Such playful activities can make these concepts of nanoscience accessible for and engaging for young learners.
Oh, this is very, very interesting. What are the primary challenges that the educators are facing when they are teaching these nanoscience and nanotechnology concepts?
One of the biggest challenges in teaching nanoscience concepts is that nanoscale is abstract, cannot be observed by naked eye, and the explanations of nanoscale phenomena are not based on classical physics. Therefore, it is challenging for students to form mental models of how nanoscale phenomena behave. This makes it difficult for learners to connect the nanoscale world to the macro world. Overcoming this requires teaching approaches that make the unseen world accessible and relatable to students. This includes hands-on experiments, microscope simulations, visualizations, and the creation of models to represent the unseen world and its connection to the macro world. Another significant challenge is that teachers, particularly primary school teachers, may not have been trained in nanoscale concepts during their undergraduate studies. As a result, they often lack of the pedagogical content knowledge needed to effectively introduce nanoscience concepts to their students. To address this, it is essential to design and implement professional development programs that equip teachers with the necessary knowledge and skills to confidently teach contemporary nanoscience topics to their students.
So are there any examples of successful NST interventions at the primary and lower secondary levels?
Yeah, there are several successful nanoscience interventions at the primary and lower secondary levels that have shown promising results in helping young students grasp nanoscale concepts. Several studies have demonstrated successful nanoscience interventions in primary and lower secondary levels. A notable example in Greece is a teaching learning sequence that spans 6 units over 40 teaching hours, which effectively helps students explore both entities like macro, micro, and nanoscale objects and processes such as viral infections, the Lotus effect, and water purification using nanofilters. In this teaching learning sequence, firstly, students learned about size and scale by classifying objects into macro, micro, and nano world, aided by tools like optical microscope and educational software simulating electron microscopes. For example, observing cells and viruses helps students grasp relative size relationships, such as the nucleus being smaller than the cell. Then they explored the lotus effect, and students engaged in hands-on experiments. They observed water droplets on broccoli leaves to understand superhydrophobicity and learned how nanoscale structures like those on the lotus leaf, as well as the air, contribute to produce the self-cleaning effect. Activities such as soccer of nanotechnology, where students moved water droplets across a hydrophobic wooden surface, made these concepts engaging and relatable. Another successful example for middle school students comes from Midwestern USA, focused on the topic, how can nanotechnology keep me from getting sick? This educational intervention was designed to connect nanoscale concepts to students' everyday life through real-world scenarios, specifically focusing on the protection against Staphylococcus bacterium. Students began by exploring size and scale through hands-on activities, microscope and computer simulations. For example, they viewed their own cheek cells alongside a human hair under a microscope, allowing them to estimate the relative sizes. They also collected bacteria from various surfaces around the building, incubated them in petri dishes. Moreover, they modeled the effect of surface roughness on how easy it is to clean a surface of bacteria using different grades of sandpaper to represent surfaces and salt to represent bacteria. Analysis of pre-post interviews and written questionnaires of students revealed that they had significant increased their knowledge on several aspects of nanotechnology and nanoscience concepts, such as the size of the objects, for example, the viruses, the cells, and much more.
So moving on to some ethical and societal implications, why do you think it is important to include discussions about ethics and responsible research and innovation in teaching nanoscience and nanotechnology?
Integrating ethics and responsible research and innovation into nanoscience and nanotechnology education is crucial because these fields deeply influence society and the environment. Discussions on ethics ensure that students critically evaluate the potential benefits and risks of emerging technologies. For example, issues such as the environmental impact of nanomaterials on health or health concerns tied to nanoparticle exposure challenge students to think beyond the science itself. So ethics sparkle vivid ethical dilemmas, which in turn sparkle ethical argumentation and decision making. With the appropriate instructional approaches, students' ethical judgments can be promoted from eco-centric views to views that consider the global benefit.
How are societal implications of nanoscience, such as environmental health impacts, addressed in the classroom?
From our experience, using the values and knowledge education called VAKE can be a great way to introduce nanoscience in classrooms, crafting real-world scenarios into ethical dilemmas that tackle various societal implications like environmental and health impacts. VAKE is an instructional methodology that combines moral and ethical inquiry with the acquisition of knowledge. It was developed to address the dual goals of teaching scientific or factual knowledge while engaging students in reflecting on moral dilemmas. For instance, students in primary education explored a moral dilemma about whether a company should release a nano-coated product that improves durability, brings prosperity to an economically distressed area, but has potential unknown health risks. Such moral dilemmas encourage students discussions about responsible research and innovation, encouraging students to balance societal benefits and potential risk. Throughout this process, students can learn about nanotechnology applications, safety measures, and ethical considerations while developing their critical thinking and decision-making skills. So the VEICO approach aligns well with nanoscience education because it emphasizes interdisciplinary learning and ethical reflection, preparing students to navigate the complex societal implications of emerging technologies.
Okay, and how do you think that the nanoscience and nanotechnology education help in preparing the students for the real-world applications and decision-making?
So by incorporating ethical frameworks like responsible research and innovation in nanoscience education, encourages students to weigh the benefits and potential risks of technologies. For instance, as I mentioned before, exploring moral dilemmas such as whether to prioritize profit or safety when introducing a nano-enabled product, help them participate, help them to practice critical thinking and ethical decision making. This experience prepares students to act more responsibly and innovatively in future roles such as scientists, policymakers, or informed citizens, ready to navigate the societal and environmental implications of cutting-edge technologies.
As we know from quite recent examples from COVID-19, the general public is not very familiarized with concepts of nanotechnology. Why do you think that public understanding of nanotechnology is crucial, and what efforts have been made to bridge this knowledge gap?
Public understanding of nanotechnology is vital because nanotechnology transforms industries like medicine, food, and energy. For this advancement to succeed, people need to be informed and engaged, not just about the benefits, but also about the ethical concerns like health risks, environmental impacts, and privacy issues. When the public is included in the conversation, it builds trust, fosters collaboration, and ensures nanotechnology develops in ways that benefit everyone. Efforts to bring the knowledge gap include participatory approaches like focus groups, citizen summits, and interactive museum exhibits, as seen examples came from Canada, for example. These initiatives encourage dialogue between scientists, policymakers, and communities, helping people explore both the opportunities and challenges of nanotechnology. Transparent communication about the risks and balanced media representations are also crucial to creating an informed public ready to engage with nanotechnology's future.
Do you think that there are any misconceptions about nanotechnology, and which one of them is the most common among general public, and how these misconceptions can be addressed with educational approaches?
Studies in Europe and in USA reveal that many people struggle with basic nanotechnology concepts such as the nanoscale and its properties. While individuals often perceive both significant benefits and risks, skepticism toward nanotechnology such as food packaging appears to stem less from scientific understanding and more from distrust in governments and industries. In addition, mass media has generally portrayed nanotechnology positively, emphasizing consumer benefits, future implications, and assurances of scientific control. Consequently, individuals who distrust these entities are more likely to perceive higher risks associated with nanotechnology. Your second part of the question was about what can do education in this part. And I think that this question is linked to both formal and informal education. Both formal and informal education, such as science fairs, museum exhibitions, and science centers, have a complementary relationship. Informal learning environments foster knowledge acquisition and positive attitudes towards science by providing students and general public with opportunities to learn outside the traditional classroom while engaging is fun, interactive, and provides hands-on experiences. These settings often include communication with experts, making learning more dynamic and authentic. For example, the most visited science center in Johannesburg hosted a nano exhibition to introduce the public to nanoscience and nanotechnology through interactive workstations, posters, models, videos, and opportunities to ask questions to experts. Visitors explored nanoscale concepts and real-world applications. So, informal education is particularly effective in introducing contemporary scientific advancements such as nanoscience-related concepts and applications, which are often absent from formal curricula due to the latter's resistance to change and have a slower adoption of modern scientific developments. As a result, informal learning sites can help to bridge the gap between cutting-edge science and public understanding.
Okay, I will move on a bit, and I would like to talk about the future directions. How do you think NST education be scaled to reach more schools and communities effectively? And what role do policymakers play in advancing NST education for all?
Nice question, thank you. Scaling nanoscience education to reach more schools and communities requires integrating nanoscience topics into elementary and secondary curricula. Policymakers and curriculum developers should prioritize revisiting existing curricula to include interdisciplinary concepts guided by rigorous science education research that identifies effective learning approaches. Additionally, professional development programs need to be designed and implemented to equip teachers with the knowledge and skills necessary to teach these topics, ensuring that they can effectively engage students with contemporary nanoscience topics. Providing educators with robust research-based resources and training will make nanoscience education more accessible and impactful across diverse educational settings. Policymakers can also foster collaboration and partnerships between schools, universities, and informal learning environments, such as science exhibitions, to make nanoscience education more engaging. Educational programs could be co-designed by teachers, researchers, and professionals in informal education to ensure a cohesive learning experience. For example, students could prepare by exploring basic concepts and formulate questions in classroom before visiting an informal site. For example, a science museum that has exhibition about nanotechnology. And during the visit, students could actively engage with the exhibits and experts, and afterwards reflect on their experience through follow-up activities back to school. This integrated approach bridges the gap between formal and informal learning, enriching students' understanding and make nanoscience education more meaningful for students.
How do you think that NST education can foster a new generation of scientists or innovators?
Nanoscience education, I think, plays a critical role in fostering the next generation of scientists and innovators by addressing workforce needs and advancing the broader goals of science education. Introducing students to exciting nanoscience phenomena and real-life applications from early age through engagement in scientific practices can help cultivate positive attitudes towards science and inspire ambitions for related careers. Moreover, engaging students in scientific practices such as developing and using models, planning and conducting investigations can provide them with experiences that mirror those of scientific professions, preparing them for future careers.
Great. To wrap up this very interesting conversation, I would like to ask you, do you have any improvements or new strategies that you would recommend for educators that are interested in teaching nanoscience and nanotechnology?
Yeah, based on our conversation, I will highlight the following. Active learning approaches such as inquiry-based learning are highly recommended for teaching nanoscience, nanotechnology concepts. Nanophenomena in nature, as well as their applications, provide a meaningful context for students to begin their investigations. Hands-on experimental activities allow students to observe macroscopic behaviors that are caused by nanoscopic phenomena. These activities can serve as an entry point for exploring the underlying science. To deepen understanding, educators can utilize strategies and materials appropriate for students' grade level. Visualizations through digital technologies such as simulations and augmented reality, as well as the creation of 3D tangible models, can facilitate comprehension. Moreover, educators should consider several key aspects when designing educational interventions about nanoscience in schools. The design should address students' misconceptions and challenges related to the nanoscience content. Additionally, the scientific content must undergo a didactical transformation to make it accessible and meaningful for the target students, grade. For primary school students, it is recommended to adopt a more qualitative approach of the nanoscience concepts.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this interesting conversation and for being with us today.
Thank you for this interview. It was a pleasure to discuss about nanotechnology education with you.
Okay, thank you. And thanks everyone for joining our discussion today. And do not forget to tune in for our next episode. Thank you.